This video continues from the previous video. Okay, so now we've looked at the basics of the foundation, what goes into it. We're looking at three-dimensional drawings that have been done in a computer that represent what we just looked at, plus a little bit more. So you can see at the one on the left, at the bottom, it's labeled a footing. And, like I said, it's that beautiful, clean rectangle. It doesn't actually look like that. It does, well, it did in the second footing we looked at. It generally is a little rougher than that, but we still denote it as the footing. And then on top of that is the foundation wall, which here is just noted as the foundation. And the one on the left is poured, and the one on the right is built out of concrete block. And so one of the things to notice is in the one on the right, it also shows you the rebar in green. Rebar can be painted so you can see it, but generally it's not painted. And you see how it runs through the foundation and also up to the foundation wall. And that then on top of that, when we're building with block, it gets filled in with more concrete so that it essentially has the same structural loading capacity as a poured foundation wall. And in both cases here, previously we looked at a basement being built, but here in both cases this is strictly a crawl space. And then on top of the foundation, as you can see, we're going to start building the house. Now, back to the bottom, you can see the tile drain to the left of the footing. And we put that in again to help direct water that comes in from rain away. It will travel down the pipe. It'll come in through holes on the top. It'll then travel down and be drained away from the house. And that helps reduce any water around the foundation that could get in. And then you see there's a gravel and then backfill on top of that and then grass on top of that. But also you can see the one on the right has more detail and it shows you the water, the vapor barrier and the insulation. So you can see all that in detail in 3D. So then what happens though, we draw this in the computer. You'll not to this level of detail. The one on the left is more the level of detail that you're going to draw. But the one on the right is very, very detailed for understanding the parts and the pieces and what they look like. But what the contractor sees in drawings is this. Okay, and so often what happens is people start looking at drawings like this as students, because I did. And I was like, I'm lost. So that's why I wanted to walk you guys through seeing what's really there to seeing what gets drawn in construction documents and then given to a contractor to build. This is what they build from. And it is literally as if you took a chainsaw and sliced the house through and pulled it away and then looked at it directly on with no perspective. Or for those of you who've ever used a stamp, it's like you cut off a part of the building and then stamp it on the ink pad and stamp it on paper. That's what it looks like. Okay. And so the reason it looks like this is that it used to be, everything used to be drawn by hand. You'll see the term blueprint is very outdated. Blueprints literally used to be drawn on linen and then printed, and that's why the paper was blue and the lines were white, and that is a blueprint. We haven't done that in a very long time, very time-consuming, laborious process, and it's also hard to change. Then it got to where we would draw mostly ink on vellum, and then the vellum would be printed through ammonia machine, and it would create a blue line drawing. So then the background was white and the lines were blue. And they still got called blueprints because they were still blue on them. But we're a long way away from that. I mean, that was the current technology back when I was in college in the 90s, 80s, 90s. I graduated in 1990. So it's a very old technology. And then we moved into, we just print them now on large printers. We, we do everything digitally and then print them on large printers. And then those large pages can be printed and copied, and it's a cheaper, easier process. Everything's black and white. Um, and it's just faster, cheaper, safer, because those ammonia machines, I actually got some lung damage from when I was working on a job from exposure to ammonia, and I was young. I didn't realize it. Um, so this is much cleaner, safer technology. So what we're looking at here is you can see the drawing on the left that says crawl space foundation. You can see the concrete footing on the bottom, and again, it's this nice clean rectangle. But what that represents, we have now seen in the building process, it actually represents a slice through that foundation. And you can see the rebar running through. You can see a concrete block was used, and it was filled in with more concrete to make it more durable. They did not show the perimeter foundation here because this is pretty high up. I still would have put one in. They didn't. And then you can see they built on top of that. And the one on the right is a basement. And you can see where they used the gravel around the footing. Actually, that is not showing you the full footing there. But so I just wanted to explain at this point that what happens now is we are taking section cuts through the materials, through the construction, to create drawings that convey information to the contractor. And I will tell you that when I was in industry, I didn't just stop here. I did give them drawings because we were drawing this, and you're drawing this with Revit. I did give them, and anything that wasn't common, if I was asking them to do anything that was more complex or unusual, something they may not have done before, I would give them drawings like this. And this was back in the 90s. Well, late 90s. And they appreciated it. So you can do drawings like this. You don't need to for common basic things. A contractor working on the project will know what this is. But once you start doing things that are different or unusual, and you want to start putting 3D drawings on your documentation, you can do that. You can do that with Revit. You can do that with these new programs. And it really helps ensure that the contractor understands your design. Okay, so that ultimately is just an overview, but it is the basics. It explains what things are, why they are on the foundation. Every foundation is individualized to the project. So these are just sort of the generic starting places where we go. Every project will have its own design, and we will talk more about that. We will get more into that. For now, in this beginning course, this introduction to this, it's good to start with the overview, and that's what this is for part 1. And so this will help you understand what you're drawing and why you're drawing it. Please let me know if you have any questions. This is the end of part 1, and we will continue into part 2 in the next video series.